And I love those kind of situations.
And as someone who might be watching, in their 20s and 30s, who might not be a trained accountant, if they hear on this podcast that, you need to look at, say, financials and the micro lending space, which are objectively the metrics that they should pay attention to even start their homework?
I would say drop everything, go and do a course in accounting. Today, you can learn anything by sitting at home. You can pick up a course in Coursera. You need 3 courses. Basically, you need 3 skills. You need accounting, you need to learn some economics, and you need to learn psychology. You need these 3 courses. You pick up these 3 courses and overlay experience. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
So to say that, what are the metrics? I don't want, to spoon feed people. They can learn it. It's all learnable. It's so easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to college to do it either. You can just get it. It's all available now.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because, a lot of training in terms of becoming a good investor is also being able to do your independent study and learning process, right? And that's what you have to be okay with if you want to get better at anything in life, but specifically investing.
Self-learning is the best learning. It has to deep dive, and you have to keep the phone away.
Yeah.
You won't be able to learn if the phone is next to you.
Yeah.
You can't learn.
Absolutely. So when it comes to, you've taught some of India's brightest minds when it comes to investing. What are some of the common traits that you've seen in students who've gone on to become very good investors?
So I won't name names, but I have a student of mine who is now worth 60 crores. He had zero money when he came to me.
In how much time?
15 years.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing.
And he's extremely low profile. He's extremely humble, and he's a learning machine. And that's what I find, they're low profile, they're humble. And this is not just one example. There are a few other similar examples. I have a few of them. These are all learning machines, and they've all gone in their own ways. And I feel so proud about these people that I've been able to play some part over there in their lives. But it's just that they have incorporated some of the lessons that I've been able to teach them, which I also learned from my own role models over the years. And I've been able to, like a funnel, I've just distilled the wisdom that I've acquired from my own teachers and passed them on to my own students, and they are passing them on. Many of my students are doing internships. They are giving internships to their own students, so they pass it on. It's like paid forward. I love that concept of paying it forward. So it's wonderful to see that happen. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, in fact, pay it forward is a very well entrenched concept in Silicon Valley. And that's how, that whole culture of, paying it forward and letting the next generation of entrepreneurs thrive and grow is how Silicon Valley has grown. And I think we are seeing the signs of that happening in India with, seasoned founders coming back to mentor younger founders. So it's a virtuous cycle that, eventually helps everyone in the...
The opposite of pay it forward, pun intended, is in venture capital. Ratcheting valuations.
That's true. But,
passing the parcel.
Passing the parcel. And if you were to go back to your younger self, are there any things that you would do differently, say when you were 30 years old?
Why would I ever think of that? There's an opportunity cost associated with that. You only live life forwards, not backwards. So why would I even think about that? So I don't want to even go there. I'm not going to get that life back, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you are, God was going to give me that life back. I cannot turn the clock back. So there's no point. And I don't like the life of regret. I don't even want to go there and think, if only I could have done this differently. There's no point mulling over that. And there's an opportunity cost associated with that. Every moment spent on mulling over what could have been different is a moment that I would spend on something more meaningful, like something like this.
I'm glad you find this meaningful. That's a big win for the podcast. But, this actually even takes me back to Stoic philosophy, which we didn't dive very deep into. Tell me about your introduction to Stoic philosophy and how it's helped you in your investing.
It happened serendipitously, out of, accidental discovery. So I became unwell, and I was having 107 fever, 106, 105 fever for quite a while, and I was just going through, YouTube videos, and I came across this Swami Chimyananda's series on Bhagavad Gita. He's got every words of Gita explanation of that. So I went through all of that, and then I came across Stoic, and I came across Epictetus and Seneca and all of that.
Marcus Aurelius.
All of that. So I went through all of that. So I felt very glad that I became unwell, because when I came out of that, I was a totally transformed person. So yeah, my wife said, what has happened to you? Completely changed, transformed. I made some changes in my life, in my nutrition, in many things in my life after that. So it happened by accident, but during that period, I also reflected upon how I can incorporate these things that I have picked up, and I use them in my classes and those videos. Some of those Swami, I think Chimyananda is a great orator, and he's a wonderful communicator also. So so I incorporate them in my classes, in my own thinking.
Which concepts do you feel strongest about?
Well, but pretty much everything. He talks about impermanence, talk about flow of life. He talks about being detached. He talks about accepting reality. He talks about do your duty. I mean, the whole Gita is there for us to to study. I think you have to go through that. But it's wonderful to to there's a concept called Lindy, which I'm sure you're aware of, that, the longer a book has been in publication, the more it's likely to stay in publication. And the real reason behind it is that there's so much wisdom in there. And, in the world that we live in right now, we can apply the ideas of these timeless books in our own contexts. And that's what we all end up doing. If we read them, we can apply them. So we talk about process and outcome, and if you study Mahabharata, that's what Krishna is telling Arjun, right? He says focus on your duty, dharma. Don't worry about the outcomes.
Yeah.
The same thing. So yeah.
Yeah. So and then when it comes to thinking about your legacy now, if you